Welcome to the Authority File, the podcast where you'll hear conversations with academic librarians, technologists, researchers, and authors whose work is laying the foundation for higher education's future. I'm Bill Mickey, your host and the editorial director at Choice. If you're new to the Authority File, you can listen to and find previous episodes on all of the major podcast platforms, including Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and on our website, choice360.org. My guest is Dr. Bob Brinkman, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences at Northern Illinois University. He is also a professor of Earth, Atmosphere, and Environment and an author, advocate, and researcher on issues of sustainability. He's appeared in a variety of media outlets, including CBS News and CNN, and his blog, On the Brink, is one of the most popular sustainability blogs on the internet. His most recent book, Practical Sustainability, A Guide to a More Sustainable Life, published by Springer Nature, is out now. In this 4-part series, which is provided with support from Springer Nature, Bob and I take a massive issue, sustainability, and break it down so we can examine the ways individuals can make a difference. In this final episode, Bob and I talk about why it's important to understand the Earth systems through an anthropogenic lens, the linkages between the Earth sciences and sustainability, and some of the ways academic libraries and librarians are supporting sustainability research and goals. All right, so I want to circle back with some and talk about research under the environmental and sustainability umbrella. And I'd like to start with, if you could just talk about the linkages between the earth sciences and sustainability and how those disciplines or other disciplines are being redefined as a result of the changing research landscape.
Yeah, our higher education is the structures are very medieval. We have departments that go back generations and generations and generations. It's really hard to do something fresh and new in higher education because we tend to really like tradition. We don't want to close a department or rename a department without 10,000 committees weighing in, and that's fine. It's just the way the culture is at universities and in higher ed. But the reality is the science is moving faster than the university structures are moving. And so if you look at the intersections of where we're at right now, we see that the word that is being used a lot these days is there's a convergence around big ideas. Like we could build convergence around climate change, and we'd bring in climatologists, geologists, biologists, geographers, sociologists, planners, and a variety of other folks to come together to work on big climate change issues. Well, how do you do that in a single department, right? Yeah. How do you work on these big convergence problems in a single department? It's hard. And so that's where I think it's really important as we move forward in the next 10 or 20, 30, 40 years in this shifting world that we're in, how we can make sure that at universities and as knowledge creators and as researchers, we don't get bogged down by the past, but can move forward in a forthright way to ensure that the kind of research that needs to get done is getting done.
Excellent. So then I think you've mentioned this in a previous conversation. What does it mean to understand the Earth systems through an anthropogenic lens, and why is this important?
Yeah, the world is in a phase of change. Almost every Earth cycle is changing in some way. The one we hear about the most is the carbon cycle. I mean, I think that is pretty clear. We've added more carbon dioxide into our atmosphere than we've ever seen in human history. We have changed our ocean as a result of that. We see ocean acidification in many parts of the world because of the addition of CO2 into the atmosphere. So our carbon cycle is transformed. But if we look deeper into other cycles, the phosphorus cycle, the sulfur cycle, even the rock cycle is transformed in some way. I mean, if you go to beaches nowadays, if you're a sedimentologist and it's changed the way you think about sediments because there's so much plastic
Hmm.
in sediment. If you go to a beach, it's kind of unbelievable in just 30 or 40 years the amount of plastic that you can find in a simple beach sand sample from really any coastline in the world. So these changes in the Earth cycle cause us to really rethink how we teach Earth cycles, how we teach Earth science because of these modifications, and the way that we do research on them as well.
Hmm. So is it even correct to call these natural sciences still?
Right, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
really, it calls into question whether we can. I mean, certainly most people would call them the natural sciences because we're looking at natural systems. It just means that we have to open up our heart to humans being part of that natural
Yeah.
system because the tradition has always kept humans separate. Like if you look at these great paintings from the 19th century Romantic period, from the Hudson Valley School of Art, it showed which is the time that we developed a lot of the structures of science in this country. It always showed humans as looking off toward nature, but somehow apart from nature. We have to insert ourselves in so that we are now in nature
Mm.
as opposed to away from it.
Yeah. I'm wondering if you could talk about some of the ways you see academic libraries and librarians supporting sustainability research and goals.
Yeah, I'd love to. I think one of the most important parts of the library that I've utilized in my own research is special collections,
Hmm.
because special collections often have just a range of local information, whether it's photographs, records, diaries. I remember working on a diary we had when I was at Hofstra University, a diary of someone who had gone on a gold mining expedition during the California gold rush in the 19th century, traveled the route all the way around the South America to made it to California, and wrote a lot about the natural world that he ran into. And so that I found really instructive in my research. But special collections and other parts of the library often hold a great deal of data. I mean, librarians have really embraced the data aspect in a
Yep.
very big way in the last several decades. There's so much information out there on environmental conditions, whether it's temperatures, whether it's data around phenology when plants are blooming or when certain birds show up. There's also all kinds of data around chemical data, whether it's point location or aerial location of data. And I also think that a lot of the information around sustainability is very fast moving. And so you have to really work with specialists in libraries to understand how to access information and work with librarians to know so that the librarians know your interests and understand that you need information on a particular theme as soon as possible so that they're able to keep an eye out for you to find you the latest research, the latest maps, the latest data set, whatever it might be.
Hmm. Excellent. And then lastly, moving forward, what's on the top, what's top of mind for you? What are the most important focus points for achieving sustainability goals, as going forward from here?
Yeah, I think for me, it's all about developing measurable outcomes,
Mm.
trying to think through how we can all take part in this great sustainability experiment we're in, and seeing if we can turn the corner on some of the real problematic issues like climate change or water pollution or desertification or species decline. See if we can really develop some measurable outcomes that will make a difference. It's going to challenge all of us to change our lifestyle in
Hmm.
one way or another, and it's not going to happen overnight. But what can we all do that right now, for everyone listening right now, think about that one thing that you can do to make a difference today or tomorrow and find a way to measure it and record it, and to also be an evangelist for it, to try to recognize that you have agency over your own life and you can influence others to make good decisions.
All right. Excellent. Well, Bob, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for joining us on the Authority File.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You just heard from Dr. Bob Brinkman, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences at Northern Illinois University. He is also a professor of Earth, Atmosphere, and Environment and an author, advocate, and researcher on issues of sustainability. His most recent book, Practical Sustainability, A Guide to a More Sustainable Life, published by Springer Nature, is out now. This 4-part series is brought to you with support from Springer Nature. As always, sponsorship and advertising for the Authority File podcast are handled by Choice's advertising manager, Pam Marino, and all of our episodes are produced and edited by Choice's digital media producer, Sabrina Kofer. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.